Roll call.
Mayor Laura,
Present.
Vice Mayor Parsons,
Present.
Commissioner Landry,
Present.
Commissioner Vasquez. Here. Commissioner Warren.
Here.
We have a quorum, Your Honor.
Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance. Invocation.
Let's pray.
Our Heavenly Father, thank you for another day of life today. We know we have our breath and all things because of you. Thank you for your Son, Jesus, died on the cross to take away our sins and promise us eternal life. Thank you for our community and what it stands for and everything it gives us and the opportunities we have in it. Thank you for our leaders, Lord, that you have called for this time and space to make decisions on our behalf. I pray that you would give them wisdom, integrity, and courage to do the right thing. Lord, I pray for our city manager and all of his staff that you would bless them and prosper them and give them wisdom as well. Lord, I think of our first responders, specifically today during the weather, our firefighters, paramedics, sheriff and police officers, and others that are aiding folks. I pray that you'd keep them safe today, and I pray that you give them courage and that you would keep our whole community safe during these winds. We love you. We thank you for Jesus. It's in his name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 1, awards, proclamations, and presentations. Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 2, approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as printed.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Warren and a second by Commissioner Vasquez. Any further discussion? Cast your vote.
Can we do a hand vote, please?
All in favor?
Thank you.
5-0. Motion passes. Moving on to item number 3, the minutes.
I'll make a motion we approve the February 13th regular meeting minutes.
Second.
There is one tiny little thing, and it's not I just saw it, and it just jumped to me. It said, there was a motion that was made by Mayor Parsons, and I don't want to take any of Jose's thunder away. So other than that tiny little,
What item was that on?
I'm
Oh,
trying to look it up here and I can't find it. It was early on in the
Okay,
agenda.
I'll fix that.
Okay.
We would like to applaud Vice Mayor Parsons, who only read his packet today, for catching it.
I have a motion by Commissioner Warren and a second by, who seconded that?
Do you want us to make that with the correction? I'll make that motion as amended.
And a second by Commissioner Vasquez as amended. All in favor? Show of right hands, 5-0. Motion passes. Moving on to item number 4, items from citizens. Are there any items from citizens today? Please step forward. I'll read the rules. Any citizen desiring to address the commission shall be recognized by the chair, advance to the podium, state his or her name and address in an audible tone for the record. Presentation shall be limited to 5 minutes unless extended by a vote of the majority of the commission. The commission does not hear matters involving litigation or city personnel. The commission does not take actions on subjects not on the agenda unless unusual or hardship conditions exist. Citizens may address the commission on agenda items as they are brought to the floor. Thank
Hi.
you.
Hi, my name is Patricia Torres. I'm with Immunize Kansas Coalition, and I am here to request if you would be able to waive a fee waiver for one of your buildings that you have in the city that would have kitchen access for one of our presentations that we're wanting to do is just to promote the importance of vaccinations. So it's just an event that we will have open to the whole community, and we will be providing food. So that is all. There's no charge or anything like that, so just to educate.
So, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, if you'll wander back a few months, we set in place a fee structure that denied all fee waivers. There's really nothing in place that the commission can do to eliminate or to waive the fees. There's a nonprofit fee, but there are other facilities in town, i.e. the homeless shelter and a few others that have kitchen access.
Okay,
That, but they can't legally waive the.
okay.
the-
Well,
the fee
if
to
I
the
could get
village.
that information, that would be great.
If you'll
I-
just call me, I'll get you in contact.
Perfect, perfect.
With a
Okay.
place, with a kitchen who can, and beneficial population as well for that.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, then that's it. Thank you so much.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Are there any other items from citizens? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 5, items from groups. Any items from groups? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 6, the consent agenda.
Oh, go ahead.
Always start with this. I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as printed.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Vasquez and a second by Commissioner Landry. Any further discussion? Cast your vote. Five oh, motion passes. Moving on to item number 7, the enterprise fleet management.
You're by yourself. Just get going.
You don't want to be on it.
Mayor, Commissioners, Vice Mayor, City staff has met with Ken Olson, and we brought him here to meet you in person. He is the Enterprise Fleet Management Senior Account Executive for Kansas and Missouri. Enterprise Fleet Management is a full-service vehicle management company, and we have a proposal to begin selling off our used vehicles and leasing new vehicles. The city will benefit in several ways, other than the 3 that I'm gonna cover, which are focuses on safety, cost, and customer support. First of all, new vehicles are equipped with up-to-date safety features such as electronic stability control, airbag standardization, and anti-lock braking systems. Second, we'll achieve lower maintenance and fuel costs due to more fuel-efficient vehicles. And third, we'll be assigned a fleet coordinator to assist with maintaining fleet oversight. So those are the 3 areas that we looked at. Our current fleet consists of 97 vehicles, and we are looking at vehicles ranging from 1995 to 2019. I'd like you to consider replacing 56 of those vehicles this year, and the estimated sale, which is the estimated commercial market value of those vehicles, which could change, is $262,000. So if you look on your sheet, there's a lease cost, and that's $421,000, $178.08, and then there's estimated maintenance cost for the year. That's $23,587.25. So the total 2024 cost comes to $444,765.33. So we are recommending that that we enter a contract with Enterprise Fleet management to replenish those 56 vehicles this year, and that amount not to exceed $450,000. And they will be paid from the Equipment Reserve Fund and funds budgeted for vehicles already for 2024, and then the equity that we would recover from the sale of the vehicles that we currently have. So we brought Ken all the way down here to meet you guys, and if you have any questions or follow up, he's definitely here.
So, Ken, if you'll give them an overview of the
Most
fleet
def-
management strategy and the, you just kind of cover the Exxon and then the cost-benefit analysis, and then what it is that you're actually bringing to the table that differs from us maintaining 1990
Certainly.
vehicles.
Yeah, most definitely. And before I get going, just wanted to thank you guys for having me tonight. Really appreciate your time, and also wanted to thank all of the staff that's been involved. It's been a very good experience over the past months working with the team and getting here tonight, so I truly appreciate all of that. Just from a quick I'll give you a quick high-level overview of who we are, and a few core areas that I feel are important, and then walk through some of the basics from a vehicle and operational side, and then discuss the financial impacts and the financial analysis that was put together. So from a very high-level standpoint, you probably all know of us from our rental department. We're part of the Enterprise Mobility family, and on the fleet management side, we truly leverage that infrastructure, the people, the tools, the resources, and really all the things that we own and operate. We've got a few million vehicles out there, and we leverage that to help entities like yours with medium-sized fleets save money and operate more efficiently and effectively. Our niche is 20 to 500 vehicles. The average client has about 100 vehicles in the fleet, which majority of our entities here in Kansas fall right into that core niche. So from a role structure standpoint, my position is really getting the partnerships established, analyzing what you all are doing today as we've done over the past months, figuring out what pieces of our program will be a good fit for your entity and even down to the department level. We do have the Sourcewell Purchasing Cooperative Award, which allows you to piggyback off all the different pieces of our program, and then designing and customizing the financial structure and vehicle strategy with you and the team, which we've done over the past months here. As this partnership would go live, we have a local client strategy manager that would be out of Wichita that would take over for me for the most part from a strategic standpoint. Justin Harper is the gentleman out of Wichita, and he would meet with your entity typically about 4 times per year. And in one of those meetings, we call it our annual client review. We'll look back at the last budget year. What do we do financially? What could we have done better? What are we doing operationally? Kind of a high-level overview. In the second meeting, we're forecasting out the next 12 to 24 months of what your vehicle needs are, especially given the state of the industry, but we've always had a very proactive approach. And then we have a few additional meetings, relationship building and making sure we're hitting all of our goals and accomplishing everything that the team is looking to accomplish. So with all that said, the core piece there is we're here for a partnership. We want to be at the same table with you guys, and we want to be here consistently working together as a team, and it's very relationship based. I always like to give a few examples. As I mentioned, there's a lot of flexibility with our program, and every entity partners with us a little bit different. Just a few to name, Unified Government, Salina, Emporia, they only use us for what I consider the vehicle side, so purchasing, upfitting, funding, and resale. A few others, Arc City, Andover, Valley Center. With these entities, they use us for the vehicle side, but they also use us for our maintenance programs, our fuel programs. Some entities use our telematics or our insurance programs. So it's all customized around your entity, and it can certainly change and grow organically over the years. Same goes for the vehicle strategy. We put together the model with the 56. We redesigned that a few different times from a starting point, but every entity starts a little bit different. Jackson County on the Missouri side, we flipped every single vehicle day one. Salina, we did a 3-year implementation. Emporia, we did a 5-year implementation. So very flexible, very customized around your entity. Last thing from a high level perspective, in the model that we're looking at and what we've discussed from a financial perspective, it leverages our equity lease model. And I always like to give an example of how this can impact your budget. And essentially all of our government entities that we partnered with over the years have used us, have used our equity lease and rotated some of their vehicles out after 12 months. And I think this paints a really good picture of how the equity lease can work. And what it leverages is your strong government buying power, our relationships with the manufacturers, and then our resale abilities on the back end with the same team that sells all of our rental fleet, selling your vehicles on your behalf. So I always give an example with Unified Government. I mentioned that a few times. Back in 2020, we were buying F-250s for about $32,000. We leveraged that equity lease, funded it to $25,000 of a remaining balance, and then when we sold that vehicle, we sold it for about $50,000. So they paid $7,000, got a check back for the equity as that vehicle was sold. And by getting out, whether it's 12 months, 36 months, 60 months, by getting out at the right time and at the lowest cost of ownership, we're certainly going to decrease our operational expenses with maintenance and fuel. So that's really our philosophy and why we have the in-person structure and why we want to consistently meet with you is analyze when's the right time to get in and out of these vehicles, reduce your budget, do more with less, and operate more efficiently and effectively. A lot packed in there. Any areas that you want me to cover from a high-level perspective just on what I discussed so far?
So I can tell you, I spoke to the city manager in Emporia, Park City, and Valley Center, yeah. And they could not give enough praise to the program for what it's done for them. Now, they weren't driving 1990 vehicles like we are, so the impact for us would probably be greater than what those three cities have experienced. And not only setting aside the economic value that comes from this, there is a message that gets sent when our guys are driving around in 1994 trucks with paint falling off the fender. We have worked very hard in City Hall to professionalize the staff, and we've tried to pass that down to the departments. And it just looks really, really bad when you got a beater with our logo on the side. And, it's generally Brad's department, so not picking on him, but they're the ones that usually get the hand-me-downs. So there are a lot of benefits to making this transition. There's definitely some risk, and I'll get him to talk about that. So there's a target price for resale. If we exceed that target price, we get the revenue. If the target price is not realized, then we owe the balance. Is that correct?
Yeah, and one of the ways that we can get around that is by depreciating the vehicle at the right amount. And we are a family-owned, privately held company, so our goal is to always write you a check at when that vehicle is sold. Now, we might have the vehicle set up at a 36-month term and need to get out early, and then we might break even or come close to that remaining balance, being how we depreciated it, and if we change that to accomplish that lowest cost of ownership. But there's a lot of flexibility, and if we need to extend out longer, we can always do so. If we're at 36 months and the market goes down, we can always extend out longer to accomplish not having you upside down, essentially. So a lot of flexibility. We can also roll equity in the future if we wanted to roll equity to put us in a better position right out of the gate. There's a ton of flexibility with that equity lease model. And with that equity lease, a lot of folks get scared when they hear the word lease. We do have a net lease option, which is that lease where there's fees and penalties and wear and tear and all of that. We also have a self-fund model that allows you to essentially pay cash for the vehicles. But with the equity lease, all it is a bank finance to a remaining balance. When we sell the vehicle, you get the equity. There is no fees for wear and tear, over mileage, early termination. It's all based around the equity of the vehicle, whether that's higher or lower, as Rusty mentioned.
And I think the thing I like about it is working with them. They're gonna tell us when the time to get out is, or it's time to hold it. Let's keep it another year because the price is down. They're gonna be our guidance on when we get rid of them.
And Chief, if you or Chris could talk about, or Jeff could talk about the recruitment value from the police sector as we compete for police officers within southwest Kansas. I think that would be helpful for them as well.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, thanks for letting me speak today. The Liberal Police Department, as you know, is significantly short-staffed. One of the recruiting tools that we have had some success in mentioning to some of the potential applicants is the possibility of having take-home vehicles for all the officers that are out in the field. That would put more marked units out in the public. It'll put more marked units in the neighborhoods where the officers live, allow the citizens to know, who these officers are, and hopefully increase the engagement. But this program would allow us the flexibility of being able to do that. As the commission knows, I did request that you purchase me 6 new vehicles this year, and our new vehicles are actually used. They're 50,000-mile vehicles from the Kansas Highway Patrol, and this would actually give us new vehicles which we could outfit and actually probably use for a slightly bit longer period of time than we're currently using. But it is a recruitment tool, and we do look at this as a benefit to the police department. Any questions for me? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hold on.
Matt?
So, I had a question
Okay.
for you. No, thank you, I appreciate you, yeah. So how old are the units that are gonna be replacing our old units? Are they brand new? Are they 1-year-old, 2-year-old?
Yeah, great question. Our recommendation is new. We do have the largest used fleet in the country, being we have all of our rental vehicles. We don't recommend that to our government clients right now, from a,
Sure.
the government incentives are stronger and it just makes sense financially. We also have the largest dealership network, but about 95% of our vehicles are ordered direct from the manufacturers. We have every make, every model. We'll order them exactly as you need them, spec them out, whether it's a police vehicle, a public works vehicle, whatever it be. Every make, every model, every option, get them delivered to the aftermarket vendor, outfitted as you need, and then delivered to you ready to go.
Okay, and then I know with most leases, we have a mileage cap per year.
Yeah.
You had explored 2 different options as far as the leasing program on there. I lease all my vehicles, and I always go for the cap out amount of mileage. Looking at our current units, it doesn't look like they put a ton of miles on them throughout the course of the year, so.
So a lot of times we'll hit hours for like police and fire before we hit miles.
Right.
But under the program he's proposing, there's no cap or limit on either of those.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
But we will structure, for police, we're gonna structure the leases different than, because you're gonna have trucks that are going 5,000 miles a year maybe, or even less on the public works side, but then you're gonna have police vehicles that might be going 50,000 miles, and we want to depreciate them at the right amount, and that's where it's very strategic, and each vehicle will have its own depreciation model and holding recommendation. But no, there's no fees, penalties. If you go over, you're gonna get less equity. You go under, you're gonna get more, and it certainly will average out.
And I would guess that with the police units, we would be staying away from the wear and tear then, is what I'm saying, because you had mentioned something about between the 2 different leases, some of them come with a wear and tear, and some of them, the wear and tear is obsolete, because we know that their units are gonna go through plenty of wear and tear.
Yes, sir. And same for the non-police units. We're gonna have some dents and dings and all of that. And they're a tool, right? We have to have the right tool for the job. We know, and we want you to utilize them the way they are. But through the retention, recruiting, morale, to add to that, oftentimes we find that the vehicles are kept in better condition, being they're not that 1995 vehicle that we mentioned before. But and that's one of the reasons why we recommend the equity lease model. There is no fees, there is no penalties for wear and tear whatsoever. It's all going back to the same concept with the mileage. If we beat it up, you're gonna get a little less. We keep it really nice, we're gonna get a little more from an equity perspective. And that can also change the holding structure, right? And if we need to, as we were mentioning before, if we need to get out earlier or extend out longer, we can. And if that vehicle's beat to heck, we can run that a little bit longer. And that's why in this analysis that we put together, I always want you to fully understand that it's going to change. It's going to change very quickly because the market conditions are going to change. We didn't know that prices were going to go up after COVID. We didn't know that maintenance costs were going to go up after COVID, right? And all those different pieces. So there's vehicles where we're going to recommend that you get out early, and there's vehicles that we recommend that you get out later. The price of vehicle is going to change. This analysis is high-level proof of concept in today's dollars. We want to right type, right size consistently, whether that's growth or defleeting. We want to do what's best for the entity every step of the way, and that's why we're here so consistently meeting with you and with the team.
Okay,
So
thank you.
two things real quick. One, that was Chief Kirk that just accidentally FaceTimed me, so I wasn't taking a call. It was Kelly's fault. But as these vehicles evolve, anybody who's bought one in the last 10 years knows it's very different. We don't have the diagnostic equipment on hand to maintain and diagnose the problems that are going to come up. With these being new, they're under warranty. We can take them to Foss or to Chrysler Corner or to Lewis to have this work done. Whereas we're great at changing tires and fixing small things and changing oil. But when it comes to the computerized stuff, that's not our skill set.
So are we looking at, so this original was like 444,000? And we're starting at, we have 97 vehicles. Is this chart I'm looking at on their page, are we trying to get down to 75 vehicles?
No.
That's not the right, this chart that I'm looking at? I was trying to figure out where the,
So
so how much
for
is the
year
lease
one-
per year?
For year one, the goal is to do 56 and then to continue to replace them on down.
And we're gonna
We're not
be-
looking to get to, I forget the number, is it 96 that we have on hand? Now, the airport vehicles aren't included, and there's another, I don't know if it was some of yours or Kelly, is it some of
So I'm-
yours?
I'm trying to,
Our two SRO vehicles are not.
so our
included.
fleet is gonna remain at 97 vehicles?
Well, no, we're gonna have to probably increase the size, because the goal is to have one vehicle per patrolman as a recruiting tool, which will grow our fleet, by 8 to 10, would you say? Yeah.
But the
So
lease is,
but we may take two away from the street department to make up for the police vehicle, but the goal is to maintain our relative number where it is.
but the original deal here is 444,000, and the 262 goes against that, or does it go against that?
Yeah, so the proposed equity that we have of what we're selling this year, plus what we budgeted for this year for new vehicles, and then the delta would be made up from the equipment reserve fund. Does that
But
make
it all
sense?
goes toward the 444 then?
Yes, yeah.
And then that is due again the next year, or is it 3 years?
Yes, so it is due to next year, but we have some of the vehicles on 12-month terms, some on 36, and some on 60. And when you look at that analysis, the equity owned column is the equity that's in the fleet today that would be offsetting, that when we sell that replacement vehicle, that would go back into that equipment reserve fund, and then we would leverage that. The city would leverage that to offset the cost moving forward. The equity lease column is from the enterprise vehicles as we sell those vehicles over the years, and that's the column that's going to change. We're going to get more aggressive in some cases, less aggressive, and that's ever changing. But from a cash outlay perspective, it's going to go up. And then once in this analysis that we did, we removed some of the chassis because they're on a little different model. They might have $20,000, $30,000 of equipment on some of the utility beds, dump beds, those sorts of vehicles. So this is going to change, and we will, and as the quotes come in, we'll have different budget pricing models, and that will change over the years. But for line one, the 49 vehicles there, that was the 421,000. The equity when we sell that vehicle is estimated at the 227, and then after 12 months, the equity of 137 would be coming back to you at the end of term. Now, vehicles are going to take 3 months to come in this scenario, 9 months in this scenario. So we're at the mercy of the manufacturer as we get rolling here. But as we go, it certainly gets a little more streamlined, and that's why we have our meetings designed around your budget year, so that we are planning far in advance and preparing your team for that budget preparation. So getting started truly is the hardest part, but as we mentioned, we have a lot of equity tied up in the fleet when we sell those 56 vehicles that we can use to offset some of the expenses.
And we're looking at 2027 as our first year of positive revenue, according to the chart that we have. Is that correct?
Positive revenue.
28, I'm sorry. 2028 is the first year that we,
That's what I was wondering, we're using this chart that says Fleet Analysis City of Liberal, and using this chart, and you're saying our lease in 27, when we get to 27, it's gonna go up to 629,711 a year, but we're gonna have equity from some vehicles at a
near 500.
Is the equity owned and the equity leased, are those, what's the difference in those two?
Yep, so the equity owned is the vehicles that we have in the fleet today. When we sell those vehicles on your
Okay.
behalf, that'll go into the equipment reserve fund. The equity leased is coming from the enterprise vehicles that are leased. When we sell that vehicle, you get all of the excess equity over the reduced book value or the remaining balance. So that's where you're absolutely spot on. Very quickly, right out of the gate, you're going to be spending more than the 5.5 vehicles that you're procuring every year today, because we now have 49 or 56 with the additional units on there. But the equity coming back of the 227 and the 137 that first year, that's where we leverage that to offset our costs and reduce our budget moving forward. So being that we already have an equipment reserve fund in place, that's absolutely recommended, and I always recommend that entities set that up, because very quickly you are going to be paying more, but the equity is going to be the offsetting factor there. Along with, then our maintenance drops significantly year one, because we're going from a 15-year plus cycle to a 3-year cycle. Our fuel starts to get better because we're implementing more fuel-efficient vehicles, right? So from that standpoint, we're shifting some buckets, certainly, but the equity offsetting those depreciation expenses are certainly a big factor.
So the number that you're wanting us to look at is this 10-year savings of $802,000, and that's including maintenance also, and that's if we will spend $802,000 less in 10 years leasing and having them maintain new vehicles than we will buying vehicles and them depreciating.
Yeah. So
This is the estimate.
Yeah, over the term. Now, we'll know 2 to 3 years in if it's working or not. If it's not, then we'll tell Ken, thank you very much for your service, but we're gonna hold on to what we got, and, 20 years from now, they'll be driving 2024 year vehicles if it doesn't work. It's worked for us for the last 30 years. We could always revert back, but if the model works, over the next 10 years, we're gonna save about 80 to 81,000 a year in our typical expenditures. Which
It
is
varies each year by what's going on, but in the end, that's the average, yeah.
About 3/4 of a mil.
And that's what I was trying to get at, is, that's the benefit, is we're hoping 80,000 a year.
Yes.
That's net after.
And driving new vehicles.
Yeah,
Yeah. That includes, I would assume, capital expenditures and those kind of things.
yeah. And it's also important to note that, they're crew cabs, not single cabs. A lot more four-wheel drives than what we have now. The admin vehicles are better. We have better recruiting tools for the police department. We have more modernized stuff for the fire department. What's not included in this, so it's gonna offset the cost a little. Chet, what do we say it costs out for a police vehicle, 24? What is the cost to outfit a Durango for? 25,000. Okay, so what's not in there is the upfront cost for that, but, a 24 Durango and a 25 Durango are pretty similar. Anywhere from 4 to 6 years. Manufacturers change their models significantly enough that we have to change hardware in the cages, so while it's not an every year thing, it does need to be pointed out that we are gonna have some ancillary costs associated with upfitting our police vehicles as opposed to charges we don't have with a normal street or water or wastewater vehicle.
But at the end of the day, we still have those anyway with the police vehicles we're buying,
Yeah.
as well as what we're planning to upgrade, so that cost is,
It's kind of a wash, but just for expectation management, those are not reflected in the 800,000.
Correct. And one of our goals is to get you out of those vehicles at the right time. And sometimes if the Durango is going to change models next year, we might recommend that you get out a year sooner so that we can transfer that equipment to the next unit, or vice versa, extend out a little bit longer to leverage that equity longer. So that plays a big role in some of our recommendations. And the equipment can always transfer both on the non-police and the emergency response vehicles and fire.
So we're doing 56 vehicles
That's the goal.
First
Now,
year, right?
Once, so the goal is to do 56 for 24. Now, vehicle availability and then budget flexibility are gonna play a role in that. So maybe we only get 45 this year and we don't get all 56.
So what are we looking at rotating? I mean, and I know that changes.
Yeah,
You
well, so
know.
if you look at that chart, you'll see the 49 for 24, 56, and this is actually a little, we found some extra vehicles. So it's really 56 for this year, 56 for next year, 67, 74, and then kind of a rotating 75 after that.
Okay.
There were 7 or 8 that Chet found that weren't on the initial roster.
And some of those vehicles from year one would be replaced in year 2 and year
Right.
3 and so forth. So that's where you see that. There, on this list, there's 7 additional units, and that does not include the 6 or 7 that we added. But there's 7 year 2, 11 year 3, 7 and 1, and that would make us fully implemented at the end of 5 years. And again, we'll change that. We'll make recommendations as we go, but that's the initial strategy recommendation.
And then Chet and I did talk, we may have to reduce the number of police vehicles because of the outfitting cost for year 1, because we just didn't, this wasn't in the picture when we did the budget back in August. So if we have to reduce it down, then we reduce it down, or we take a couple from another department to make sure that the police department outfits what it needs. And then I can't remember if I've said it already or not, but the airport is not included.
They are.
They are included?
They are.
Okay.
Yeah, we cleared it with the FAA, and they said as long as they're, stay on for airport use only, they're good.
Then availability, because during the last 3 years, we would put some money aside for a vehicle, and then it either wouldn't show up, they just could not get it, then a year later, we're trying to find something else. What we commit to here, those usually get delivered within their time frame.
Yeah, absolutely, and we will lay that out for the team as directly as we can, and we're very transparent about that and going to give you worst case scenario, but there are things that happen. I will tell you, times are getting improving. There's still challenges, but we are getting better. And one of the things where we're at right now, we're in between the 24, 25 model year, so some of these vehicles would be 24 model year, some would be 25, depending on that model. So if they just cut off and they're a 25 model year type vehicle, it's gonna take a little bit longer. It'll probably be 2-3 months before production starts, and then we would see those vehicles 3 to 6 months from their vehicle dependence. That being said, there are a lot of vehicles that we do have available, being that we have all the makes, all the models. We will certainly make those recommendations. I partner with a lot of clients here recently, and we're seeing vehicles show up in 3 to 6 months. They have a substantial amount of those vehicles on the ground within that time frame. So depending on the vehicle, I know there's some for chief that I expect to have within 3 to 4 months, worst case scenario, I assume, depending on the upfitting time that it takes. The other component of that I like to mention is year 1, again, is gonna be the hardest part, because we're at the mercy of where we're at today from a timeline standpoint. Next year, we know 25 model year, boom, as soon as that starts for that 15-year or 20-year vehicle that's potentially blew an engine or whatever it be.
And I know I'm gonna sound like a stuck record on this, because I'm gonna bring this up to another item, but one thing that's not figured in this is what additional insurance is gonna cost us on newer vehicles.
And,
I'm gonna guess it's gonna be
yeah.
80 grand a year.
It's gonna go up.
Yeah.
And it really hit at a rough time for us.
Yeah.
Because of Al's passing, we couldn't get a good number on the exact amount of what the increase was gonna be. Which is once again why, when we throw the 444 number out there, but just know we may not get 56 this year, we may only get 49, because we gotta maintain that 440 range. So, we will have a much better understanding next year of what the increase is, but, I think we're asking for not to exceed 450. We're not gonna exceed 450. If that means we get 56, that's great. If it means we get 48, that's great. whatever we have is an improvement, but whatever dollar figure you authorize is the number of vehicles that we'll be able to obtain. I'm not sure how many of these 56 are liability-only coverage, but there's probably a pretty good number.
Yeah, and to add to that, that is the biggest piece, is shifting from liability only to full coverage. But in addition to that, there are substantially better safety features on the vehicles. They're newer vehicles, et cetera. So I always recommend, and we discussed that, talking with the agent, figuring out what that impact's gonna be. We certainly have insurance programs, but from a we typically don't see it as drastic because of the safety features and the improvements on that side, but it certainly will tick up slightly. The other piece from an operational perspective that we haven't discussed heavily yet, we do have a few different maintenance programs. As I mentioned, you can leave Enterprise out of it completely, do what we're doing today. From the discussions that we had, there's the mechanics that we have on staff, there's a lot of other things that they are doing and can utilize their time for. With the two programs that we offer, we have a maintenance management program, and this can be applied to any vehicle in the fleet, regardless of age, regardless of mileage. Day one, we can put it on every single vehicle in your fleet. And this is a pay-as-you-go type structure. It is $6 per month per vehicle, per our Sourcewell contract, and then all maintenance is passed through. So I go to the local dealership, the local vendor, give them the maintenance card or the mobile app. They discuss with our ASE certified technicians. We make sure it's the right maintenance, negotiated pricing, right cost. We pay the bill wherever they go. Your team gets one monthly consolidated bill. That all flows through to our system and the enterprise dashboard that your team will have access to. But then as we're coming out on our quarterly reviews, now we're leveraging your hard data to help you get in and out of these vehicles. We know what you buy and sell them for. Now we know your maintenance, and it all starts to come together. And that program can be applied to the emergency response vehicles. As the enterprise vehicles arrive, we have a fixed full maintenance program, and with this program, we will customize the cost, and that's built into that maintenance column there. We'll customize your costs in full for the duration of the term, whether that's a small SUV or a F-350 pickup truck. We'll fix that cost for the duration with preventative, non-preventative. Most often we leave out brakes and tires because we're getting out before you need them. This program does not apply to the emergency response vehicles, but they would utilize that maintenance management program. So the maintenance management is more of a transition into the full maintenance program as the enterprise vehicles arrive, but we offer both solutions.
Can I just make one comment? So every year we get 5, 6 new vehicles. Those are 5 or 6 vehicles we can't work on because of the computer systems and all that. We don't have the equipment.
Yeah.
It's not, we don't have it here. We don't have the equipment. I don't think you wanna purchase the equipment that it takes to work on those computer systems. So right now, we're just taking them to the garages at $150 an hour. I don't know what they charge. And that's just gonna continue to grow every time we get a new truck.
Yeah, and technologies continue to advance, right? And we have all different types of vehicles on the road today even, right? So from that standpoint, we have all the options, all the solutions available. And again, we can just adjust all this as we go to accommodate your entity, your need, and as things change. We do have a fuel program with telematics programs. If we want to implement that at any time, they are available. Questions, thoughts?
I'm ready to make a motion.
Nope,
By
I
the
think
way, if
that's
this
it.
turns out to be a bad idea, the mayor found it. So,
In that case, I better start selling it a little better. I think that's gonna be our biggest benefit, is at the end of the day, it's gonna be the fuel cost, because we're gonna be right-sizing the fleet. Currently, we use some of our bigger vehicles to just go up and down the road to go do inspections, and those are vehicles getting 8 to 12 miles a gallon in town, where we could probably get them something else that's gonna be more correct for what they're doing. That is, better city fuel efficiency. I mean, just between that and what Brad said about the new vehicles now, in insurance, the repair cost to fix a dent because of the sensors that are on those vehicles, it's just ridiculous. You can forget about, trying to fix it yourself, because that's just not, we'd be buying a $30,000 vehicle and then a $20,000 piece of equipment to diagnose it every single time when we get something different. So I think if we can maintain the same cost or just a small increase to what we're currently spending now, it's a net positive.
Yeah, that's quite frankly, my goal is even if there's a break even, there's a lot of other savings that will come through this program. Right typing the vehicles is huge. Getting the right vehicle, the right buying power on the front end, getting the right unit in there from a fuel efficiency standpoint, reducing our maintenance, all those categories are absolutely our goal. And that's what we want to be part of your entity, and we want to know what you're trying to accomplish, whether it's fuel efficiencies or the maintenance reduction or buying and selling the vehicles. And we're going to bring all that to your plate, but we want to work with the team to consistently do what's best for you at every single point.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks.
So at this time, what does the staff recommend we do?
The staff is recommending that we move forward with the agreement with Enterprise Fleet Management to replace vehicles in an amount not to exceed $450,000.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Have a motion by Vice Mayor Parsons and a second by Commissioner Vasquez. Is there any further discussion?
Just understand, in the packet it says 56. It may be 50, it may be 48, it may be 58. Just
Yeah.
as far as we can stretch to the 450,000 is what we'll do. So we're tying a dollar figure, not a vehicle count.
And any discussion from the public? Seeing none, cast your vote. Okay, 5-0, motion passes.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Moving on to item number 8, solar panel project.
Okay, so Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, this is, Jacob's gonna give you a short overview of the work session, that you had before, and then we can, we can dive a little deeper, but, Jacob, they just spent $500,000, so don't get greedy. Or boring.
Thank you, everybody, for allowing us back here tonight. I know we had our work session previously where we discussed solar, what it would look like to work for the city. We went through, again, to cap that, took the city utility bills, figured out where most of the usage was, where the easiest offsets are, and where you could have potential savings for turnaround on that, as well as start agreeing. The city approximately $223,000 on the first year on just the electric usage as well to help pay for the system and turn it back around. The facilities that we have highlighted to target to start with is City Hall, the wastewater treatment plant, and that is the site that consists of 4 separate meters. The rec center here, and then the police department are the highlighted ones that have the best return here to make this as beneficial of a project as possible for the city.
Okay, so what we're asking for is approval of the project. And then if you approve the project, then Scarlett and I will go back to work on the funding source. We had originally reached out to the state revolving fund in the hopes that we could use sales tax money to pay for the other facilities and the SRF to use, because of the better rate, the wastewater facility. After consultation, they did not believe that because of our population size and the type of project, we would be competitive for an SRF loan. They have shifted their focus to smaller communities that $1 million project would have a much larger impact than for a community like ours. So the idea is, in working with Gilmore and Bell, we would take out a temporary note for up to $3.7 million. We would hold that for about a year because we anticipate the IRS direct pay to come April of '25. at which point would leave us about 3.6 million, or 2.6 million in debt, and then we bond that amount once it's completed. Bond is coming in at about 4%. So, we have a couple options. What we would recommend is that we take the money from street drainage capital improvement, about 800,000, is it 600 or 800? I've got my numbers mixed up. What you need to get started.
I believe 600 and some is what we
Okay.
discussed.
So, we would borrow from ourselves, on-hand reserves from street drainage, capital improvement, so that we could initiate the project. They would get to work, and then we would kind of pay as we go until the temp note was, realized. We could pay them off, and then sometime in early second quarter of next year, we would get our direct pay from the IRS. Then we bond the project, make an initial principal payment of 1.1 million or whatever the direct pay comes out to be exactly. And then over the next 15 years, we continue to budget at the level that we budget. However, we create a reserve fund so that the savings that you see in the 40-year breakdown would go into that fund in order to pay the debt service. Does everybody understand? That was a lot of words. So the idea is that we wouldn't raise taxes or mill levy or rates to facilitate this. The debt service would come about from the savings generated from money we were gonna spend anyway. So if we were gonna spend $500,000 a year at the wastewater treatment facility, we would still budget $500,000. It's just 240,000 of that would go into the special fund to pay our debt service bill, whether it be annually or biannually. And we picked the 15-year because that keeps us from dipping into our pockets. And, you know, if the calculations are correct, the savings generated will produce enough revenue to pay the debt service and then a little more. We kind of run into the same problem that we did with the cars. We were not able to get an accurate, I don't want to say accurate because the mayor gave me an estimate. We were not able to get an exact amount of the property insurance increase, but it's estimated to be about 2% of what we currently spend, which is right at 800,000. So we would estimate an increase to our insurance premium of about 16,000 a year to cover the additional panels that are going to be on top. However, the panels are rated at over 100-mile-an-hour wind and softball size hail.
Yeah, the 80 mile an hour to 100 mile an hour, actually what they're set for, and golf ball size hail coming down at 80 miles an hour.
Is that sustained winds or gusts?
It is sustainable to that.
Okay.
So they're actually rated to sustain that wind. A lot of these panels were put up. The derecho went through Iowa there a couple years ago and didn't lose a single panel in any of the facilities that I had installed up there, which would come out to be several thousand solar panels. And they have a lot of luck down in Miami area and Louisiana area with them, where they got hurricanes to worry about, that they have to be rated to hold to that standard. We're windy here, but we're not quite that standard.
So you can see we have a 15-year break-even point, and then after that, 25 years of additional usage projected for the panels. So we have about 25 years of positive revenue. Now, there'll be some hiccups along the way, but the warranty is 25?
25 years.
Yeah. So we have 10 years post break-even of warranty left, but a projected lifespan of another 25 years after we break even for the
And
hardware.
if you do it the way you're talking, being able to take the loan for it, and that you're just paying with what you're already paying, you'll actually start saving money in year 1 by projection instead of in year 15, because your loan payment's gonna be less than the savings off the production of the panels.
So there's a loan payment in here figured in at $234,000.
Yep,
What rate is that based on?
that was at the 4%.
4%?
Which is the standard bond rate. When we
that's
did the
on-
work session, we were hoping that we could get to 2.25, but after discussion, we couldn't get that, so we adjusted it.
And that's on the 3.7, and then you're gonna do the bond, or the bond's the 4.
Well, the bond is 4%, but the idea is that we bond 2.6 million.
And the
So-
3.7 we were doing how, you say?
The 3.7 is the total project cost.
Gilmore and Bell, we're gonna,
The IRS is gonna give us 1.1 million back in direct pay, because we don't get tax credit. So you subtract the 1.1 from the 3.7, you get 2.6. That's what we bond at the 4% rate, presuming that the rate doesn't go up, but, we're talking probably tenths of points on an increase based on the trajectory that we're going now. This was last year, it'd be a lot scarier, but this year is not nearly as scary as.
It's supposed to stay level or begin cuts by the end of the year, if not start of next year, so.
the steps again, though, you were saying is so somewhere we have a 3.7 loan to start with, that then we pay and turn it into a bond?
Yes.
And so we have 600 and some thousand that we're taking out of streets, drainage, or whatever to start it. But when we do the 3.7, we put that 600 back.
Pay yourself back.
And then after we do the bond at 2.6 and start making the payment on that, basically the savings every year makes the difference in what we're spending on electric, actually makes the payment on the bond. And in 15 years, the bond's paid off. That's structured on a 15-year bond. Then we actually start making money on
Roughly years 16
on
through
what
40.
we save or we reduce the amount of what we had in the budget to pay. And in reality, what we're budgeting is what we spend now, which could actually go up if we didn't do it, right?
Correct.
It probably
So-
won't go if we do it.
And Jacob, I believe you built in a,
There's
increase
4%.
rate.
Yep, so this just shows the savings based upon a 4% utility increase.
Okay, so that's built in there in our savings then?
Yep, that's how
Okay.
you're getting an
So
increase
you're
in
at-
your
okay,
cash
that's
flow.
fine. Okay,
And in the last few years, it's been more than 4%.
okay.
I don't remember what the percentage was for this year, but it was, Black Hills told us it was gonna be significantly higher than what we paid in the last 2 years. It's too early to tell exactly.
Black
What it
Hills
is,
or Southern Pioneer?
Well, so Black Hills gave us the brief, and I guess natural gas drives the electrical cost.
Okay.
I don't understand that part. Jacob's the engineer, he might know, but I just know what the Black Hills folks told us is their rates were going way up, which was gonna drive our electrical prices up. Also, so this is really important for everybody to understand. We have one company in Liberal that does this. So, it's not that we didn't seek out other companies. There are subsidiaries that we could have gotten other bids for, but there's only one company that's local who provides the service and is looking to move their corporate headquarters. So we have a contingent of Solar Grids here, and Solar Rays?
Sunray.
Sunray, which is in Florida, that's looking to move their corporate headquarters to Liberal, so that they can do projects, around the country, but be based out of here. So not only is it helping us from a financial standpoint for the city, but it also brings a corporate headquarters, to our town, which Conestoga was probably the last big, I mean, you guys would know better than me, but Conestoga was probably the last big one that showed up here to plant their flag. That's why you have a single source proposal in lieu of going to Garden or to Dodge or one of the major corporate solar companies.
I think it's a good project to try and get into. If solar does maintain And from what we're seeing with the newer technology too, it has a better, wow, lifespan, I guess, and usage. It doesn't, its percentage doesn't begin to degrade as quickly as the old technology from 10 years
Yes.
ago.
The degradation has definitely significantly increased, this degradation has decreased in numbers, so that way you can last a lot longer and increase production longer.
Did we talk about dusting them? How will that be done, or are we hoping that there's enough?
So typically enough rainfall is able to clean them for the most part inside of there. If you would like, we could set up a service plan as well. Nice thing, again, we're local, we're able to come out here and do a cleaning of them and set up some sort of program if that was something that would be desired as well.
Because we never know when we go into droughts or 17 inches of rain a year, so.
Fair enough.
And Karen and Keely can tell you better than I can exactly how many of the grants that come through their offices where we meet the green requirement. And I can tell you it's probably not many, but this
That's what I-
enables us to check that.
That's what I was getting ready to ask you. I think somewhere in our conversation, we talked about this actually puts us in line for more grants possibly. Okay.
I mean, we can preach LED light bulbs all we want, but that's only gonna get us so far.
As a reduction, that's not a creation. Any other questions?
So,
At this time, you'd want us to make a motion to move forward with the project?
yeah, I would like for you to approve the project and the first, let's say $800,000 to be spent from street drainage to capital improvement so that they can initiate work. And then, it probably take us a month and a half to 2 months of work with Gilmore Bill to get the temp note finalized for your approval. Now, and the reason I said 800 is because that's roughly everything minus the wastewater facility. If your math's better than mine, but the police department, city hall, and rec center.
Yeah, for those three projects, and I have,
Yeah. Which on scale would produce essentially the same results, it just wouldn't be as, on the magnitude of the 3.7, but we would anticipate the savings to do the same thing on those three facilities as it did on the wastewater, or the collective project.
And then those 800,000 is technically a loan from the 1 cent sales tax that we're gonna take back when we take the actual loan with the
Yes.
bond.
So do we have an anticipated rate on that temporary financing? Any kind of an idea what that, I'm assuming it's gonna be higher than the 4%.
They didn't give me a rate, but I obviously think it would be higher than the bond rate.
Yeah.
So by a couple percentage points probably.
But remember, it's only 10 to 11 months that we're gonna carry that note. So 1 year's worth of interest is probably negligible compared to the longer term. And of course, it's a different world than it was in 21 or 20 or 21 last time I did a temp note, but there was not a measurable difference then between the temp note and the bond rate, but I was actually kind of surprised at how rate the bond rate was, based on what like Ransom and a few others publish every day. It's actually about 3.75, and they tack on about 1/4% for handling fees with the bond council.
And then, of course, we will be keeping an eye on rates to where if it does make sense to refinance a bond, we would be doing it at that point. If rates do begin to lower in 2-3 years.
And that would involve kind of the creativity of the bond council and the way we shape the bond. We have 5-year options, some are 10-year options, depending on what we lock ourselves into of when we're eligible to negotiate.
Okay. In that case, I will go ahead and make a motion to move forward with the project and designate 800,000 from the 1 cent sales tax. from Streets, drainage, and capital improvements. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think that is sufficient. We understand the risk and but the opportunity cost is in line and the risk is, within tolerance to move forward, based on our assessment.
Second.
I have a motion by Mayor Lara and a second by Commissioner Vasquez. Is there any further discussion? Any discussion from the public? Seeing none, cast your vote.
I get it.
Are you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 5-0, motion passes.
So if you'll call me.
Thank you guys very much.
We'll set up a meeting here.
Yep, and we'll get to work.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
Yes.
Moving on to item number 9, protective gear purchase.
All right, so Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Chief Kirk is out with the fire. This is a annual, purchase that the fire department budgets, for protective gear. I'm sorry, I know it's every 5 to 7 years, he likes to keep them on rotation. His goal is to have 2 per firefighter, so that's what he's working toward. The idea is if they go out on, like they're on a fire tonight, and then they get another fire at 2 a.m., they've got a clean set to put on before they have the time to decontaminate the one they just wore, so. They received bids from 3 different companies and recommended MES in the amount not to exceed $13,000 for 5 sets of coats and pants.
I'll make that motion.
A second.
Second.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor Parsons and a second by Commissioner Landry. Any further discussion? Any discussion from the public? Seeing none, go ahead and cast your vote. Motion passes. Moving on to item number 10, the Railroad Overpass Grant, the supplemental agreement.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. Tonight, we're bringing forth for your consideration a supplemental agreement with PEC, Professional Engineering Consultants. They are the company we've been working with on the concepts for our overpass project that we've continued to look at. The Department of Transportation has scheduled a loose date of spring of 2024 to launch the Railroad Crossing Elimination Grant through the Federal Railroad Administration. That's the grant that we are pursuing for planning purposes, to take a look at our 2 sites that we've been looking at to be able to pursue federal construction funds for that in a future round. At this point in time, we are requesting additional support from PEC to help with a statement of work, a project timeline, and a project budget components of that grant itself. We are working on the narrative, but there are some additional components that require a lot more technical skill to be able to schedule and work with the consultants that they work with for things such as environmental assessments and other items. So with that, there is an increase in the amount that we have with them of $29,000. You see in the agreement itself, there's those first 3 lines there are actually for the concept drawings, which amounts to $27,500. That amount would be reimbursable through the grant if we were awarded the grant, but the $29,000 cannot be. So it's just important to note that that is something that a portion of that will still be able to be applied to the grant as a match. And so we're requesting approval to move forward with that so that it's hard to kind of pinpoint the timeline. They were supposed to open it back in August of last year, but we're now seeing spring as a date, and so we're ready to move forward with getting this started. There's typically a 60-day window to apply for the grant. We've got a 25-page narrative that we're working on, and then there are those additional documents that we would need from them.
So this basically puts us in position when they open this up, we're ready to
Yes,
talk about this on it.
we plan to be over-prepared for the opportunity.
That's good.
That sounds great to me.
It's good to be moving forward on it.
Well, I'll make that motion.
Where's the 29,000 coming from, did you say?
The funding for this one comes from, which particular fund? I don't remember where it came from.
Hold on, because we've mixed these. This is street drainage capital improvement. Or, because we need to expend the funds, we could also use ARPA. I would almost rather use ARPA because we don't have much dedicated to ARPA. We've kind of committed the street drainage capital improvement pretty heavily. So,
I think that's a great idea. So I'll make a motion that we approve the supplemental agreement, not to exceed $29,000, funds to come out of ARPA, remaining ARPA funds.
Second.
which I hadn't looked lately, should leave us with about 204,000 in the ARPA account.
Yes, just a little bit over 200,000.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor Parsons and a second by Commissioner Warren. Any further discussion? Any discussion from the public? Seeing none, cast your vote.
Thank you.
5-0, motion passes. Moving on to item number 11, compact track loader.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. I come to you this evening. The airport's in need of a compact track loader. We do a lot of dirt work along the edges of the runway. A wheeled one would tear up and leave a lot of ruts, so a tracked one would help without leaving the ruts. We're getting attachments also for when we unload stuff out at the airport, so we need a pallet forks with it also, and then we're also getting a pickup broom, so that way we can also clean up around the terminal. We will also use it to clean up the street and the parking lot in front of the terminal also. I went out and got 3 quotes back from Bobcat, Cat, and Case. Bobcat came back at $68,637. And we are wanting to stay with Bobcat due to the fact that other departments do have Bobcat, so that way when in the long future, whenever I do get a different one, that way this one could go to another department and the attachments would work with this one. So I recommend that we go with Bobcat, not to exceed $70,000 to come out of land sale fund.
And Brian, we were looking at about 30,000 in additional attachments for this one, if we switch brands.
No, this comes with the attachments.
No, but if we went to a different brand.
There
was something that was.
We have about every attachment possible for a Bobcat brand now.
Yeah.
In other departments, so, and if he needs it, he has full access to anything else that fits a Bobcat, so.
I'll make a motion, we approve the purchase of the compact truck loader from Bobcat not to exceed the amount of $70,000, which was budgeted coming from the land sale funds.
A second.
A motion by Commissioner Vasquez and a second by Commissioner Landry. Any further discussion? Any discussion from the public? Seeing none, cast your vote.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
5-0, thank you. Moving on to item number 12, additional crack chip seal.
Mayor, Commissioners, recently, not recently, for the last couple of years, we've known that Western Avenue was not in good shape. It should have been chip sealed 7 years ago, probably. It was put down in 2009 or 2010, and we did a pro seal on it, and we're losing the surface on it. So, we're recommending that we go ahead and crack seal it with the program that they're doing the east side of town with right now. He's gonna give us the same price. He's got excess material. He'll bring it over and use it on Western. And, we're requesting that you approve that in an amount not to exceed $40,000. I think it's gonna be considerably less, but I told him, don't plan on using any. If you have it left over, let's just bid it like you don't. And then we're gonna also ask for an additional 51,568 square yards of material to chip seal Western Avenue. We don't know the cost because it's going out for bid probably later this week. So we haven't bid the chip seal part of the project yet. And since B&H Paving was the only bidder on the crack seal, we thought it would be okay just to approve them to do it.
So it's the crack seal that's gonna be 40 plus whatever the chip seal is.
Yes. So we're looking at, well, the chip seal hasn't gone out to bid yet, so I'd rather not say.
Okay.
And honestly, we'll probably have one bidder on that too.
And this will come out of streets and drainage
Actually,
or highway?
we talked about the 1 cent sales tax, yeah.
Yes.
Because the original is gonna come out of special highway funds.
Well, I'll make the motion, we approve, B&H paving to, crack seal Western from 15th Street to Highway 54. Amount not to exceed 40,000 to come from streets, drainage, and capital improvements.
I second.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor Parsons and a second by Commissioner Landry. Any further discussion? Any discussion from the public? Seeing none, cast your vote.
I didn't get it. But yes.
Motion passes.
And on the next motion, could we get a motion to add an additional 51,568 square yards of chip seal material to the bid project?
I'll make that motion.
Right. We don't need it?
Well, we can put it in the specs,
Okay.
and then we'll bring it back to
Bring
you
it back,
after.
okay, never mind,
Send the motion.
I do.
Okay. In that case, moving on to item number 13. City staff.
I got a little bit. Just to give you some projects that are going on. Street Department and Parks are doing batting cages out at the 15th Street fields for the little guys. I think I told you we got a grant to do that with.
Oh, that's nice.
all the high school and the college spring sports have started, so our guys got plenty to do out there. So they're staying busy. The park lights over here at McCray should go up in the next 2 weeks. If you want to see what they look like, there's one standing up at the park shop currently that we're seeing how much room it covers. It's really nice. Water department's doing a water line project from 11th to 15th between Carlton and West Haven. They're replacing that alley. Thursday, we're having a bid opening for the big water project, the $4 million water project. Another thing, and I'm going to throw this out there, we've been having a lot of graffiti in Light Park, and we spent about 40 hours last week cleaning it up, and they did it that night. And we're gonna catch them, trust me, we're gonna catch them. But it's that time of year, I guess.
Just warm enough.
If people are out there and see it, let us know. But we are gonna catch them, sooner or later. That's all I got.
Thank you, Brad. Chris?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to remind the commission or invite you to Daryl Kennedy's retirement reception. It's going to be held on Wednesday, March 6th at 2 p.m. at the Blue Bonnet Community Building.
2 o'clock?
At 2 o'clock, yes, sir. I know Daryl's been with us a long time, and so we hope you'll join us and wishing him well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Anyone else? Okay. Moving on to item number 14, the city manager report.
So, our supervisor and leadership training participants are starting week 2. So, we had great feedback on their first month, so expect that to continue. And we want to pass our condolences to the Shank family. Al was a pillar, just like his father was, and 70 plus years of service to the community. So we just want to send our best wishes to the family.
All right, thank you. Item number 15, items from commissioners. Who wants to start? Go for it.
Well, thank you to everybody for coming out today, and then thanks to the community firefighters out there today. I know it's been a crazy day for the last couple of days with the wind, and I traveled from Sublette to here from work, and you couldn't even see on 83. It was never seen anything like that. Was pretty. Felt like I was in a sandstorm in the Middle East or something. It was pretty bad. But you can see the amount of damage too that it's doing to buildings. It took down my fence this afternoon at my house, so I'm gonna have to get a fence put up now. That's right. Other than that, not a ton. Once again, condolences out to Al Shank's family, to all the city staff for the hard work that they do all the time. I really appreciate everything that you guys are doing and what you do. So I really appreciate everything that's going on. Thank you.
Condolences to the Shank family. Al certainly will be missed, that's for sure. And thanks to staff for what you do. It's appreciated. And congratulations to Brad on becoming a grandfather again. That's all I have.
My turn. I'll just say it again because we can't say enough what a part Al Shank was to this community, and our thoughts and prayers with his family because it's a rough time for them. But I don't know whether I'd bring this up now or not, but I was thinking maybe I can get some kind of answer or whatever. So baseball is coming up, and we've talked about the signs at the ball field or whatever, and I know some are getting old. I have way too many things going on anyway, but something may need to, if we just leave it be, or do I need to get with Orlando and we get some of the signs, maybe get him active on it a little bit too, and I can
So we discussed it. We thought the best course of action was for you to sit down with Orlando, explain the program, and then he can take it and run with it after that.
Okay.
But there's a lot of them that I think when we talked before, Keating was the only one who hadn't gotten their money's worth. And then we got 10 years of Pepsi on the scoreboard, I believe, so that's kind of institutional knowledge. You're the only one who really has, so if you could spend a little time.
I'll get with him because I think he has enough energy that,
Yeah.
well, and it will create some income for tournaments or however staff or commission choose it for it, but almost all of them, like I say, almost all of them need renewed. I have some dates on a sheet somewhere in a list and have talked to Jaime at Versus about cost. In fact, I think he actually had bought some blanks to replace or whatever. But I'll visit with that deal with Orlando, because I think he was doing that to keep his spot on the, Versus has a sign out there, so to keep his spot. I'll get with Orlando then and go over with him and go from there. That's all I got.
So just like all the other commissioners, I could probably sit here and speak hours on what a great individual Shane was, so my condolences to his family. He truly cared about Liberal, had a servant heart, and was really a great leader, and so he will be very missed. Also, thank you to the fire department, all the firefighters. I know they've been working very hard these last couple of days and are still out there right now. And also want to say thank you again to all of the city staff for all of your hard work.
Start off with thank you to all the city staff for everything you do. Right now, all our first responders that are dealing with current fires, I actually just got a picture of one of the houses that was on fire in town, as well as responding to all the fires throughout the community yesterday, today, and then probably the continuing fires until this cold front settles throughout our area. Also, definitely condolences to the Shank family. He was definitely a mentor between the hospital board, city commission, and the fact I'm an insurance agent too, and I'm actually in his old building. He was definitely a mentor that I would speak to quite often, so he will be missed. Then yesterday, I went to the town hall that the college was hosting and imparted Rusty's words. So at the current time, they are looking for ideas what to do with the pool. I let them know that the city's currently not that interested in running or maintaining the current pool, but if they present us a partnership with a future project, that's something we probably should look into. I mentioned the commission had not been brought into this yet, so when it's time for that presentation, I'm sure Rusty will bring it to us. But they had a very good turnout, easily 60, maybe 100 people. I couldn't see the very end of the room. Everyone was there, it was full. So this is something the community is interested in, an indoor pool. There's a lot of use. So it's something we definitely need to look into once a true plan comes through, and we can partner with them, the school district, hopefully the county. The county was not present there, but I don't know if they've been brought into this as well, but hopefully they'll partner with us as well. And then just with all the other programs, I mean, I'm hoping that this is gonna help us move forward. There's a lot of conversations being had for other projects throughout the community. The board, got to speak to a lot of the school district board members yesterday, since we were meeting one of their candidates before the pool conversation, so they were all there. And they have a lot of ideas of where they want to partner with us, so I think it'd be good for the boards to meet one of these days and get that organized. Other than that, I think things are going great. Thank you to all the staff for what they do. That's all I have. Moving on to item number 16, the vouchers.
I'll make a motion, we approve the vouchers in the amount of $1,578,072.52.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Warren and a second by Commissioner Landry. Any further discussion? All in favor, or everyone cast your vote? 5-0, motion passes. We are adjourned.